Hi folks, this is your second video for Unit 1 on the Enlightenment, and today we are going to be talking about the philosophers of the Enlightenment and the ideas that they introduced during this time period that really shaped the way that we view the world and our government. So your goals for this video are to, 1, describe the beliefs of Enlightenment thinkers on what the purpose of government is, and where a government's power comes from. And 2, explain why the beliefs of the Enlightenment philosophers were revolutionary shifts in thinking. So to get started, we have a couple of big ideas to talk about. 1, the Enlightenment thinkers were interested in changing the relationship between people and their government. So we've just seen with the causes of the Enlightenment, right? People are upset about the kings and queens abusing their power and taking advantage. So we're seeing these Enlightenment thinkers start to question that. Also, these Enlightenment thinkers believe in something called natural rights. We start to think about, well, everybody has certain rights that they are born with. And you might have heard of these before, right? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Those come from the Enlightenment, right? So just because, basically what this is saying is you should not be treated a certain way just because of who you are, right? Everyone has those fundamental rights. And many of our philosophers are going to write about something called the social contract, which we'll look at a little bit later this unit. But that's a social agreement between the people and the government. And they agree to give up some freedoms, the less important freedoms, in exchange for protection by the government, right? So they agree that the government should protect their natural rights. And these philosophers are all really opposed or against the divine right of kings, this idea that, government gets its power from God. Instead, they thought the government's power should be derived or obtained from the governed or the people. So the people are the ones that give the government power according to these philosophers. So we're going to look at a few specific philosophers, and the first one is John Locke. Now, John Locke is really going to say that people are born with reason. People can logically think for themselves. They don't need someone to do it for them. And he says that people are born good. Okay? He sees the positive in people. He wants a government where natural rights, these rights that everyone is born with, he wants the government to have those protected. So for him, right, life, liberty, and property are going to be the main rights that everybody has. So for him, the best government is going to be a democratic form of government, a democracy, right, where the people are the ones making decisions rather than like a king, for instance. In comparison, you have Thomas Hobbes. So Locke thinks that people are born good. Hobbes believes that people are born selfish and competitive. So he more sees people being born evil. He thinks that people are born bad. The only way, because people are naturally selfish and bad, the only way to maintain order is to give all that power to one person. So for him, the best government is an absolute monarchy. He believes that we do need a strong leader like a king or queen to prevent us from acting on how evil we all are. Voltaire is another one of our Enlightenment philosophers, and Voltaire believed that people are born smart and free. So he's more like John Locke. For him, the best government is one where people have as many rights as possible. So one of his main ideas is the freedom of speech and press and religion. So you should be able to speak freely about your government. And this is going to inspire our government, including the First Amendment of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So obviously you as a citizen of the United States have freedom of speech. You can thank Voltaire for part of that. We also have someone named Montesquieu, which is fun to say. Montesquieu, he is one of our philosophers. And again, he believes that people are born good, like Locke thinks, but it's society that makes them corrupt and power hungry and evil. So for him, he believes that government should be split up. The power should be split up into 3 branches so that one person doesn't have all that power, so it doesn't go to their head. And this impact on our democracy today is that we have in our government separation of powers and checks and balances, right? We have our government divided between the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. They have their own set of responsibilities. Checks and balances too, right? The branches are able to check or restrict the powers of the other branches. So that is preventing one person or group from becoming power hungry like Montesquieu feared. Right? So for example, again, you can see separation of powers in the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. And then you do have examples of checks and balances in our system as well, like I mentioned. Now, Rousseau is one of our final philosophers. He, again, believes that people are born good and compassionate. So therefore, people should be trusted to vote and govern themselves. So he believes in a direct democracy. And remember, direct democracy is where people vote directly on each and every law. So everyone that is able votes on the laws that affect them. And then finally, we have our only female philosopher, and her name was Mary Wollstonecraft. And she spoke out for women's rights during this time where women really didn't have many. So she was very progressive, and she wanted women to be equal to men. She also said that women have natural rights. John Locke was only talking about men. She believes that women also have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness or property. And she also believed that women should be educated, which was not a thing during this time period. Women were not educated. She believed that education was good for women because that way they could educate their children. So the children would become educated members of society. So really, as you can see, Mary Wollstonecraft is talking about equality between men and women. All right, so remember, your learning objectives are to describe the beliefs of Enlightenment thinkers on the purpose of government, what should it do for the people, and where its power comes from, and explain why the beliefs of the Enlightenment philosophers were revolutionary in thinking during this time, how they created shifts in thinking. So at the end of this video, I have changed a little bit. You are going to answer the multiple choice questions at the end of this video. When you are done on your note sheet, you will record your score, and then you will write the answers to the multiple choice questions in the boxes on your note sheet. Okay, so if you need help with that process, please ask me in class. And if you have questions, also let me know. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.